Welcome to the Metaphysical World with Vicki Anderson.
And Robert Vecchio.
And we're happy to be back doing the continuing segment on astrology, and today we are doing planets.
Yes, we are.
Okay? And we'll start with
the sun.
The sun. And would you like to take the sun?
The sun is all about the individual, ourselves. It's masculine energy.
It's wherever it appears in a chart, that's where you shine. So that's always really good. It's the ego, it's your core inner beliefs, it's who you truly are.
It's basically the center of who we are.
That's right. And it's also, if you're a good person, if you're not a good person, if you're a secretive person, you can always find wherever it comes out in a chart, you'll know a lot about that person.
Oh yes, we just went over that in class on Monday. Oh my God.
Then we have
the moon.
The moon. Well, you know lots about the moon.
It's the feminine energy. It's emotions. Is it your mind?
It's women. It's your mind, but it's also especially women in your life.
Yeah.
You know, how you react to your mother, your grandmother, your sister, your girlfriend, friends that are women. And if it's well aspected, then you have no problems. If it's badly aspected, then women would be a real trial and tribulation in your life.
Those are nice words. I have to write that down for later.
I think of that, trial and tribulation. But the moon is also the subconscious, and it's where the feelings are. This is where you feel things deep down in your heart, and this is what you truly believe about, oh, I feel sorry for this one, or let me help with this charitable organization, or this person's so poor, let me help.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really how you feel about life in general.
Could it also be spirituality?
Absolutely.
Okay. And one thing I noticed from class is wherever your sun is, and the sun usually represents your father, and the moon represents your mother, and where they are in the chart tells you what kind of relationship they had when you were first born.
And that's always a pip.
Yes.
It's really interesting that many charts have the mother and father fighting or disagreeing or really stressed, which makes sense. But it's always very interesting and to see that. But certainly there's a lot that are very happy,
Yeah.
That the child's coming. Not all, but some.
That's on a whole different subject.
And we now have
Mercury. That's all about communications. It's also about computers and intelligence, and also the mind. And whenever people say Mercury's in retrograde, hide under the blankets. Okay, don't sign any contracts. Don't do anything legal. I wouldn't even go to the hospital unless it's an emergency.
And then they'll still screw it up.
Yes, because Mercury in retrograde is just not to be messed with.
That's right. When a planet goes retrograde, which means that it actually, from our point of view on Earth or wherever you are, it seems to be going backwards. So for instance, if this, say, was the Earth, and Mercury's going around this way and you live over here, the time it gets over here, it looks like it's behind you. It's not that they actually go backwards, but it's just an astrology thing. And whenever a planet goes retrograde, that certainly means that things go wrong, or the negative traits of that planet come out. And Mercury, being it is communication, it is your intellect, it's how you deal with people, you want that to be direct all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Or, as Robert said, hide.
Hide.
That would be a really good thing.
Hide.
And this is my planet. So when Mercury goes retrograde for Virgos or Geminis, it's really very difficult.
Yeah. I usually have computer problems with that,
Or car problems. And mine has been computer the last couple times, which really sucks.
I had a brilliant thought, but it
yes.
didn't happen when Mercury was in retrograde, but the solar eclipse. Don't ever fight with your grandmother on the solar eclipse.
Don't fight with anyone on the solar eclipse.
Especially your grandmother.
And if you do, if you make up quickly, then you will be able to deal with that. But we'll do the solar eclipse at the end of this.
6 months of fighting. Okay, let's move on to Venus.
Well, you have to have a positive solar eclipse.
I'm hoping. All right, that's Venus. That's all about love and your love life and peace and harmony. And beauty and attractiveness.
Very good. Somebody's
I've been
been
studying.
Okay.
I looked like a fool last time. Let's go. Okay.
Venus is for harmony and peace, and it does represent relationships. And it could be any kind of relationships. Usually love is involved, but it could be the love between a brother and sister. It could be best friends. But mainly it's the, Venus represents, calming, loving, generous, very, just beautiful love.
Yeah. And beauty, because I know Libra is ruled by Venus.
And what other sign?
What other sign does Venus represent?
Yes. Taurus.
Taurus. And I have my Taurus in my moon. My moon is in Taurus.
So now you should know.
No, wait, hold on. My ascendant's in...
They don't need to know that.
I'm just saying.
Next.
Sorry. Off in a tangent. What a surprise. That's Mars.
Yeah.
And that's temper and anger and war and violence and nothing you ever want to mess with.
That's right. It is action. It is reaction. It's assertiveness. It's aggressiveness. It's being very adamant, very persistent, and, always thinking that you're right. But it's always action, action, action. These people that have a very, whether it's the most elevated planet or a very strong Mars in their chart, always are on the road doing things. You can't pin them down, and they are not procrastinators, that's for sure. But basically, this is somebody who many times speaks before they think, and so you get into a lot of trouble. So you got to be very careful with Mars.
I know a couple people like that.
And then
that's Jupiter, your best luck planet. It also means abundance and happiness.
absolutely. Abundance and happiness is great, obviously, but what this certainly does too, it expands things. So if it goes over your ascendant or your first house, you can never lose weight because you will be expanding. If you have something that's in a bad aspect to it, it expands the bad aspect. But Jupiter is always Jupiter. It is the best luck planet, so eventually it will help you out. But wherever this comes in your chart, you're extremely lucky. And there's only one guy that I know, young guy, who was a student of mine years ago when he was 18. Now he's in his 40s. That's how old I was. I still call him a young guy. That he has Jupiter in his second house, which is the money house, and no matter what he touches turns to gold.
And what is his number? Because I want to get some stock tips. You can hear that? That is Saturn. It's the teacher planet, and it also brings karmic lessons to you.
Absolutely. And what Saturn does is it makes your life very difficult, and it brings worse and worse situations until you get it. And until you decide, okay, I'm going to have to handle this, I'm going to have to change this, what do I do about this? Because if you ignore it, the universe constantly brings us back until you learn the lesson of it. And once you learn that lesson, whatever it is, then you don't have to deal with it the rest of your life. So that's kind of cool.
Well, that lesson, if you don't learn it in this time, you can learn it in the next lifetime.
Or the next lifetime.
And the next lifetime.
Right.
Yeah.
Saturn also is a planet of responsibilities, obligations, hard work. And if it's over a health house, of course, it's bad news. But basically, I do teach that it is the teacher planet because you do learn a lot when Saturn is activated, and also you do learn those lessons so that you don't have to deal with karma.
Yeah, and then it also is important where that falls in your chart because you might have to learn that specific lesson.
That's for sure.
Everything's in my sixth house anyway. We'll get to that later. How are we pronouncing this?
Oh,
Miss
let's
Vicky?
say all three.
Uranus.
And Uranus.
And sure. Okay. Well, this is all about unexpected changes. It's also about reaction
And it could be rebellion, it's sudden unexpected changes. It's related to accidents too. And basically it's almost like the Tower card in
Oh yeah.
tarot. So it's things that you that are unexpected, but a lot of times what happens is that even though you think it's really, really bad, it turns out being really good for you. And the universe gave you a cosmic kick in the butt because you weren't doing anything. Okay, and now we have Neptune.
That's Neptune. It's all about the illusion delusion. And I was reading something about this because I was just reading, and it's all about fantasy.
Yes, that's what illusion delusion is. It's
Yeah.
fantasy. That's why if people have a very active Neptune, they're great writers, they're great artists, they're great poets, they're great actors and actresses, because people with say an elevated Neptune or a prominent Neptune, they don't like being themselves. They like to be other people,
Yeah.
because it's fun. You know, maybe they're not really happy with who they are at that time, but some of some of the best actors and actresses we have a very highly elevated Neptune.
Cool.
Okay.
And our last one is Pluto. Pluto is forces you to make important life changes, and it's all about upheaval and renewal.
It's upheaval, trauma, drama, crisis, and death. So
That sounds reassuring.
well, you have to have a death planet somewhere.
I know, but
And basically, it does, depending upon where it is in your chart, it can make you very strong. It could bring some crisis into your life. No matter what it does, it always helps you to react, deal with that issue, and move on. But sometimes, people don't react, or they don't act, and they're stuck in the same situation over and over and over again. So that's what Uranus, and Pluto come in. Now, I just quickly want to tell you that, remember last week we were dealing with the ephemeris, where all the planets are, and I just wanted to mention that I do use this calendar, which is the Jim Maynard calendar. It's called Celestial Influences, and you can get it online at quicksilverproductions.com, and it gives you all the moon signs. It gives you where the planets are every day, where planets are in the sky. It's a really, and a little brief description of every sign. So that is really important.
Well, and the copy of the ephemeris is right up there.
Yes. So if you can have the copy of the ephemeris for each month, and it's really very easy to read, and it's a really great book. If anybody's interested in it. And I think we are just about out of time for today, but this is a
Oh, look, I have one
chart.
too. Hold
We have charts,
on. Matching.
and this is what we're going to talk about in our next segment, is your natal chart and what all the houses mean.
See you soon.
And remember, no matter where you go in life, there you are.